Hey, what's up guys? So this is going to be a different kind of video because this is a video that's for an English project I'm doing for my class. So this will be fun. Recently in my English literature class, we read Jane Eyre, arguably one of the most loved and influential works of literature that's from the Victorian era. Good book. You should read it. Anyway, this video is going to be a rant/criticism of Jane Eyre. So if you haven't read the book, I'll leave a link to the Sparknotes down below. Jane Eyre is what is touted by my English professor as a realist novel. Realism being it's supposed to mimic real life, something that the novel doesn't do particularly well. If it's trying to be realist, it should be realistic in a sense, right? No. In the first part of the novel, we are introduced to the Red Room, something that is probably really recognizable in the novel if you ever read it. And in the Red Room, Jane finds ghosts in the novel for the first time. So ghosts, I'm gonna put this out there right now. In real life, ghosts, not real. But if they were real, like in a lot of works of literature, a lot of works of film, there are certain guidelines that are supposed to make ghosts legitimate. And in Jane Eyre, they don't make any sense, really. The ghost in that part of the novel is supposed to be Mr. Reed, but it wouldn't make sense for him to come back as a ghost for many reasons. First reason, ghosts only appear in literature or cinema when a character is usually murdered, or, as I learned in my cinema studies class, if the person was a traveler and they died and their body wasn't buried or disposed of by their family or friends or loved ones or anything of the sort. And so essentially they're like a lost soul in the universe. They can't find their way to heaven. But in Jane Eyre, we can assume that Mr. Reed wasn't murdered. And I think we can also assume that he wasn't a traveler, as he died in the comfort of the Red Room. And he was surrounded by his family, because that is his home. So we can assume that Mr. Reed wouldn't come back as a ghost. But yeah, ghosts don't make sense when they appear in that novel. So moving on, later in the novel, Jane moves to Thornfield and she meets Mr. Rochester. One point I want to make is Jane is a fucking idiot. In one point of the novel, Mr. Rochester tries to trick Jane into thinking that he is a gypsy by putting on a ridiculous outfit, trying to act like a gypsy in order to trick Jane, and somehow it works because Jane is a fucking idiot. Are people that stupid back in the Victorian era? I would hope not. But apparently this has happened. It's a realist novel, so apparently it has to be real, right? No. Another point that happened was when Mr. Rochester proposed to Jane under the chestnut tree. And after that proposal, the night of, a lightning bolt strikes that tree and splits it directly in half. Does it seem a little fishy at all? Trees don't get split in half by lightning. It just naturally doesn't occur that way. For one, in nature, when a tree gets struck by lightning, it usually will just catch on fire or have like a scar or something. It won't split in half. Also, the convenience of that specific tree that Jane was proposed under getting struck by lightning is a little bit too far-fetched and coincidental for that to actually be real. I think most people can agree with me on that one. It's a little crazy. Another point I want to make is Jane and Mr. Rochester's whole relationship. I'm just going to talk about that last part of the relationship, not the end of the novel, but right before Jane leaves. Jane leaves Thornfield Manor because after Mr. Rochester proposed to her, she finds out that Mr. Rochester is actually married and he keeps his wife in the attic of the same house that they're living in. Does any of that seem... I would really hope that in the Victorian era that it's still not common enough for people to lock up their wives in the attic. Also the fact that Jane wasn't fazed by her being in the attic more than the fact that he was just married and didn't tell her. It's a little weird. Also, after Jane leaves Thornfield because of that whole fiasco with Mr. Rochester, so she goes to London, and basically what happens is she goes on the streets and starts begging for money because she's almost starving, and on that brink of almost starvation, she stumbles upon one particular house. And in that house, some people come and they help her, they bring her back up to health, and those people happen to be her cousins. Her long lost cousins that she never knew existed. What are the odds? Like really, what are the odds Even worse, after that happened, Jane has inherited 20,000 pounds. Wow. Right on the brink of starvation, all this good stuff happens to Jane. Wow, good for Jane. Would that really happen? I would love that for that to happen. I would love to win the lottery someday, but you know, that's never gonna happen. And this is like the equivalent of that. In conclusion, this book, not realistic. But anyway, that's basically it. People in my English 297 class. Hi. So if you liked this video, if you want to see more of these, I doubt I'm going to make any more of these because I don't really enjoy literature that much. But for more videos, like maybe not like this, for more videos in general, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe, and I will see you guys in the next one. Peace.